Welcome to 𝐄𝐓𝐇𝐄𝐑𝐄𝐔. We talk about investing, finance, and professional development. It's the current time of 9:32 a.m. on the Eastern Time on August 23rd on Tuesday. Hope you guys have a great week so far. Ethereum $100,622, that about 0.08% so far. Respect over crypto market on both the equity and the crypto market, I would say we are relatively flat. Not really doing much across the spectrum. Obviously, yesterday was a quite negative, bloody day. But today we're still kind of gliding on a sideways fashion. Seems like investors are reluctant to be buying or selling. And you could take a look at the volume is relatively lower than typical days today. So today there isn't a lot of positive or negative news. But if you talk about like collectively from the last 48 hours, obviously we're still experiencing the PTSD of the negative news from yesterday. So we're not really doing much. And the upcoming catalyst that we need to look out for, that is in the foreshadow perspective, is on Friday, right? The Jackson Hole speech that will be depicting Jerome's sentiment on how he thinks about the economy outlook going forward. How are we going to be doing with the inflationary pressure? Are we going to be raising the rate? Knowing the fact that we've done 75 basis point twice already, are we going to go with 1% this time? Are we going to go with 75 basis point again? How's the efficacy been looking like going forward, right? And with respect to triangulating with the rotations onto Q3, how are all of these catalysts going to be driving the stir into market psychology? So, as we know, the technical front, we are experiencing and observing collectively, together, and feel free to correct me if I'm not being correct, right? It seems like on the Ethereum pattern, it's quite apparent that we are forming some sort of like a head and shoulder pattern, right? You could see that the 2031 is like the head. Shoulder would be forming secondarily that we begin July 28th, and you could see that we dip down and now subsequently recuperate back up. So this looks very much like a secondary shoulder that we're forming right now as we're leaping back up to 1650, maybe even 1750. And if we linger, kind of back to where we were before, around 1800, and then give up, we might be in for a head and shoulder pattern. And every single time you see a head and shoulder pattern, it means that we will reach much lower levels. This is something we've seen before. We've seen together, knowing the fact that we've been together for quite some time now. So it's not a surprise. So unfortunately, it seems like that's what's forming right now. And if you look at historical, let me just check if there's anything that we've seen in the past that looks comparable. Comparable. You can see that this is a kind of a head and shoulder pattern where you see the head that we reach the close to 4,850, and then the secondary shoulder right here, first shoulder right here, and then sell off from there, right? And is there another one? We see another one right here that was formed back in April, had that peak, and then a secondary shoulder, and then slide off from there. So it seems like we might be seeing something similar again, right? I hope I'm wrong, right? I hope that we will basically recuperate, like consolidate, recuperate, go back up to 2,000, and then sell down a little bit, and then recuperate. So that will be considered a cup and handle. But it seems like right now, the propensity of shifting onto a head and shoulder is a lot more likely. So that means seeing lower levels again is going to be more imminent as the formations start to take shape a little bit more and more. And on the Bitcoin side of the house, you could see that this is trading on a different pattern, but it's still negative. You could see that we're forming an upward wedge, right? And we drew this together, and then subsequently, as you form the wedge, you break the wedge, and you sell down from there, right? So on the daily right now, we're bouncing, or try to bounce at least. On the weekly, we're still kind of fusing together, looking for some directions to go to. But on the monthly right now, you can see that we're quite bullish, I would say. So, but it's just let's talk about months out, right? So daily and weekly is still kind of ambiguous, but I'll say shifting more towards the downside because of Ethereum and Bitcoin are trading in quite comparable fashion. in terms of the overall momentum. But if you dissect closely, obviously they're trading on different pattern, but both pattern are still bearish in that case, right? And then on the all the other altcoin, it seems like they're quite comparable in terms of how they're trading. This looks very much like a head and shoulder pattern. So see more sell-off is coming, and this is basically a wall that we're kind of sustaining right now. But it's sustainable. I'll give that benefit of the doubts that it might, but I think knowing the fact that we have crossed that for quite some time now. But let me check the weekly. It's quite flat. So yeah, I would say yeah, we might be able to hold just fine. But the lower levels can be impossibility, right? 55, lower levels than that. And then across all the other ones are quite comparable to like Bitcoin. Cardano is trading very similar to like Bitcoin, like having that upward wedge. Solana, let me just take a look at this. This is looking on a different pattern. Yeah, Solana looks very much like yeah, it's a little bit more funky. This looks more just like a zigzag, but like a lack thereof in terms of inertia. Looks kind of like a head and shoulder pattern, but not very clear. But looking at the technical on below, you could see that, I would say this is pretty okay in terms of DCAing because of the depletion on the RSI, on the technical on the MACD front as well. And also we're gliding on a relatively supported level at 33, so not terrible, right? And then on a weekly, you could see that we are not terrible, right? Cross up, cross down, 37 out of 70. So yeah, Solana doesn't look like a terrible buy at the moment. Just look at XRP right now. I'm looking over my screen because it's covering my fit. I cannot see it. Sorry for if I'm shifting my angle. XRP looks fine. Looks comparable to Solana. Polkadot looks comparable as well. Algorand looks comparable, but a little bit more bearish because of the large separation. Shiba Inu, it's a little bit extended, I would say, but obviously Shiba Inu is a lot more volatile, right? Polygon down 1%. It's decent. AVAX up 1.5% right now. Still recuperating, so not terrible, not the best either. But it's sustaining. But this looks also like an upward wedge as well, right? So I think the sell-off we have seen so far has been depleted. So right now it seems like we're getting good support. So it's a kind of a mixed bag across the spectrum, right? But just looking at the indicator that we see, for Ethereum, again, right, daily and weekly looks decent. But we should ideally see more sell-off because of the head and shoulder formation that's being, kind of building up as we speak at the moment. So appreciate you. Have a good rest of the day. It's a quicker one than usual, and take it easy. Take care. Bye.